nice words. And you forgot I was a couple of years in India building a proposal support center of 500 people. So I'm coming here with a lot of business experience, and really happy to be here. And I don't know how many people we have the line. It's always sometimes a bit tricky to get people on the webinar, but I hope many will be there and listening. And I've prepared 50 slides for you. Don't be scared. But of course, let's say I hope we will have some interesting fun to have, let's say, look into the German market from an international and a German perspective here. And I've been working with a lot of international business. And then later I realized why it is so difficult for international companies to, let's say, go into the German market. And I'll share some thoughts and ideas and talk about some specific segments and so on. And yeah, let me just to start. I mean, of course, most of you know, I mean, we are initially in the business development and proposal business. So I will not do any further advertising here, but for us and for me, it's always, make sure that my customers, our customers, win more business. And one topic is you need to know your market. Otherwise, you shouldn't even start. And I mean, about the session, I have to say it's not the first time perhaps that we talk about it, maybe in a different size or scale. But I would say it's clear. There are a couple of reasons and interesting points. I mean, also on BPC Europe, I did some information already. So I hope you have, let's say, fun to listen to the content I have to say you here. Okay, so my experience, and we will tackle these topics here. So a little bit about the German market and public tender and politics, how the segments are organized from B2B perspective. And I have two more depth information here about the aerospace business and the defense business. And then a little bit, I mean, what can be done in Germany and making your first contacts here. And I hope the questions, Bhaskar, you will also follow on the chat if there's something going.
Yes.
Which is needs to stop me, but it looks all fine on my side here. Okay. So, I mean, I took this title here, what it takes to enter the German B2G and B2B market. And as Bhaskar said, every market is specific, of course, but German is very specific because the market is, for many companies, I mean, it's, first of all, it's very big. Yeah, it has so many business opportunities and segments, but it is highly competitive due to this. Yeah, and it was, I would say, less government driven. It becomes a little bit more government driven because of the recent developments in the world. And the first hurdle here is already, in fact, a lot is in German. And this is the first hurdle. I mean, I talked now about if companies international want to join the market. Okay, and they need to learn about, I mean, how is it structured? How is it structured? And just the basics, anybody could read, but I mean, we are a growing population right now. So we have been growing by 2 million, now up to 83.2 million. And we are organized in states. So we have 16 states, and the largest one is a single state, which is not the biggest in size, but the biggest in population is North Rhine-Westphalia. And this shows you already a lot of business most likely is there. Okay, so this is still this is official statement. We are still the 5th largest economy, you can say, depending how you measure this, 4th or 5th largest economy from a business point of view. But a lot is done by exporting. So I mean, today we look more into the, let's say, local market here. So I mean, most of the business actually comes in Germany from the international market. And some specifics here already people should perhaps know. In general, education is relatively, I wouldn't say it's not for free, but it's for free or very cheap. And the healthcare is very well developed. But there are challenges now, in particular when it comes to digitization. So overall, I mean, a country you would love to live, but let's see how you can make business coming, for instance, as a American company, British company, and let's say European company. So everybody has its specific hurdle to enter the market. Then you need to perhaps first understand, I mean, the spending of the government is very high already. I mean, 300 billion every year, and it's growing. And it's even going further now with the current situation in Ukraine. And we had an election recently. And this is already a topic which can change a lot for companies joining the market. Because now it's a completely different approach. I mean, even the ministry is renamed from Ministry of Economic Affairs and Industry. Now it's called Climate Protection. So I mean, K means Klima in German. And it's run by the new party. So when it comes to this market, it's general about finding the funds. So which part of the business is funded? And it does not mean only government business. It means also there might be other businesses which are B2B, which have a funding from the government. So, and you see already, I mean, how do I see the tree in this wood of opportunities here? And I tried to give you some hints and why it's difficult, and and I start with the simple one in tendering here. So first of all, in Germany, there is no one tender portal. If somebody is saying this, it's not true. I mean, there is one portal, which is, this is the high-level portal of our government, so-called Bund, B-U-N-D. And as you can see already, I've chosen here a screenshot from the portal in English on purpose, but it doesn't help you very much because the content is in German. So, I mean, and you will realize at many areas, you might be happy, okay, there's an English button to go for English and you understand it. It's not. It's quite often not the same content. And in tendering, the documents, I would say 97% are in German. And a very good, I mean, on the right-hand side, you see this flag. This is actually also our, all the investment into our, let's say, defense army goes via this portal. Even it's handled in a different location, Koblenz, but I will come to this later again. So you see, it's the first challenge. So you have to get familiar with this. And some companies, they offer you a service. I mean, we find for you all the RFPs. It will not help you, I tell you. You need to go deeper. Then, surprise, surprise, each state or community is running its own portals. Here is an example. This is the one from the biggest state, North Rhine-Westphalia. Again, you need to get familiar, you need to be get signed on, you need to understand how it all works, and you need to understand the German laws behind it. There is no, even if this is issued on the European level, I will come to this, it goes back to the local level. So it shows you already the challenges companies have here. Even to start bidding, you need to prepare yourself. And I have supported in the past a couple of companies trying this, and I'll tell you later, what works and what not work. Okay. Those of you which are not from Germany, but from Europe, they understand perhaps the TED portal, which is a European one, where a lot of European tenders are directly tendered, but it's also, you find all the German tenders which having a certain level as by your EU, let's say EU law, it has to up to a certain level, it has to be published European wide. But you see, but if then the content is in German, it doesn't help you very much. By the way, if there are questions, please, send it to the chat. I think I'm able to most likely answer everything. Then here, as I said, there are, let's say, 20 different portals. Here's one which is half official. So normally tenders in Germany, let's say, to receive the material is for free and it's available for everybody. But if you want to have more information, more functionality on the portal, you have to pay for it. So this, for instance, is a, something in between. And as you can see already on the top, there's something called CosiNex. And those people which have been working with this, they know what I mean here. This is another software you have to, for instance, implement on your hard disk on your PC to be able to submit proposals. So, and I've only shown you 3, and there are more. So, so if you want to enter, you have to be very clear. It's not done, in a month or so. Okay. So then you need to understand the government structure and system, how the tendering is, how can I say, divided, and where you find actually the right place for your product and solution. So, then you need to understand what is the function of the unit you're targeting. You need to understand, it's like in B2B, you need to understand their tasks and goals. That also means, they're not making any sales, they spend budget. And they have to take care of the employees in the government organization. And you need to think about, okay, do I need to offer something for the internal business, for their own business, or do I offer a service for the service they give to the community? Yeah, and you see already, this requires, many of you are in the proposal capture industry, and this really requires, of course, capture management. So before you, and as you touch any tender. Here, and on purpose, I left the German names here, for instance. But we have a structure like in many, how can I say, democracies, they have the structure even. So you have the country level, which is Bund, then you have the states, and then you have the districts, communities, and you have perhaps government organizations, which are not directly government organizations. For instance, some hospitals are government driven, some others are not. And you need to find out, where is the budget coming from. So, but the name Obere Bundesbehörde and Untere Bundesbehörde is very common in this industry. You need to understand who belongs to whom and where the budget flows. I think this is the key message here. This is not about sales, it's about getting the budgets. I have at the moment, we have some discussion with companies which are going for health services. And there are new laws, so the hospitals have to implement certain electronic versions to handle their patients. There's an opportunity for software and service companies. Of course, it's in German. So in a nutshell here, there are more than, let's say, round about 1,000 plus entities you can work with on the government level. And the spending here is going up. This is from 2020. If you include now the latest defense budget increase, it will go even higher. So the market gets even more attractive. And you can see this already, how actually the flies are coming in and from many international, let's say, organizations to grab some of this business. So it's not up for German companies, of course. Then here on the left-hand side, I mentioned and I will come back to this. There are some European projects or organizations like ESA, European Space Agency. They are also country-driven because the money comes from the different states. And of course, the largest state gives the most amount of money. And for Germany, here the organization which is actually, so to say, handling this is Deutsche Luft- und Raumfahrt. So the German aerospace, let's say, organization. And you see language German, tender German, documents German, local laws, and even the communication. It's even when you read the tender, it says the communication is in German. That means phone calls are in German, emails are in German. And there are two reasons. Of course, this is the way of working. On the other hand, many people in the organization still not very comfortable with English. Here are some, a couple of, there's a lot of information you find on the internet. When you start to search in the state portals, and just have one example here. There's a, organization finder, Behörde, it's a government organization, so you find the different stuff in the different organizations. But you see already, what I said 5 minutes ago already, so a lot of pre-work I have to do here, or I find somebody who helps me to do this. So the most important, let's say, ministry organization is the following for when it comes to do government businesses and rules and organization. It's the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Energy is the new name now. So they're renamed due to the new political change in Germany in the end of year 2021. So, and also you see here, of course, the ministry is in Berlin, but quite often part of the ministry is still in Bonn, which is the former capital of Western Germany. Yeah, so there are dual offices and the spread around German cities. Okay, so BMWK. So if somebody wants to work with this, they need to understand the money, the budgets, and everything according to the economy comes from here. The money at the end comes from the finance minister, but he is driving the business. And he is very new in his role. This is Mr. Robert Habeck. Maybe some of you will know him. He is he may not expect it to be in this spotlight so soon, but due to our crisis we have in the north of Europe, northeast of Europe, and our energy problems, he has to act now. But I just want to show you also all the ministries are organized in a similar way than his. So he's not doing the work, of course, himself. So he has certain Staatssekretäre. Some of them are civil servants, the top ones, and the green ones are, let's say, framed here, let's say, from the political parties. And this is happening all the time. So every new minister does it in a similar way. You have to be aware of this because then the focus changes where the budgets are going. So, now he has, his major task right now is, of course, to ensure the economy in Germany is not collapsing if we are not supplied by gas anymore. Okay, so we've done a couple of products in the past with international companies, and one was from Czech Republic. And just briefly, show you, the learnings out of this. Of course, it was pretty clear for me at the beginning, but the customer wanted to do like this. And so they were actually supplying modern, let's say, archives shelf systems for government and for B2B. And it seems to be not too bad and wanted to enter the German market. But they were not willing to spend, how can I say, time and money and people for it. So Czech Republic company producing the systems for both sectors. The first thing is they did not know what is the competition here in Germany. Yeah, so we had to find out for them, for instance. They didn't know the rules, and it even made it different to do the bidding, because certain software was required to do certain calculations, which is not, so obvious, so common. And they didn't know the technical standards. And you would say, okay, this is an international standard. Well, I realized myself after some time, the German industry is very clever. They're developing their own standards. So, and one which is very much known is called RAL. It's an example here. So, so this was requested as a must-have in the tendering process. So actually, it was defending international companies to bid here because they could not fulfill the RAL, let's say, certification. Yeah, and this is not a government organization. This is purely business driven. In this case, it was RAL R3G 614. So they didn't have that. But we realized, who are the competitors? So everybody who signed up is a competitor. And the competitors, I have to say, they tried to defend their position and didn't let this company into this organization. They didn't say so, but in fact, they did by delaying processes. And some of you may know the RAL, let's say, naming from paintings. So there's a standard for paint, different colors. It comes from the similar system. You can have it for special, many stuff you do, it follows an RAL system. Okay, you see? And this goes for every segment you are working in. So you need to find this out before when you really believe you can be handing over a successful proposal. Okay, so next one is, so what type of business do we have in Germany and where is it? And I give you a little bit of orientation here. So these are our states. So we have 16 of them, I told you earlier. And the first two are the ones which have, cities have more than 1 million. And each area, city and state have, of course, particular businesses. Yeah, Berlin is our largest, the capital is the largest city. But you see, Hamburg is already, let's say, close to 2 million either. And of course, it's shipping, logistics, and there is a very big, let's say, aerospace space company, which is Airbus, of course, which is in Germany and in some other countries as well. And of course, also very much in similar size in France. Yeah, Munich is about automotive, aerospace, and in the neighboring country, Baden-Württemberg, you have the other car companies. Stuttgart, we have Mercedes, Porsche. Porsche is, VW again. So we're still depending very much on the car industry and the belonging in industry to this. When you see, for instance, Düsseldorf, where we are coming from, this is more telecommunication and fashion and insurance. So there is no, no real, how can I say, big factories here. Close by is Cologne, and Cologne is there's one car company which is Ford, which is an American. Yeah, and the yellow one, which might not be so easily to read, is Bremen, and Bremen is pretty large. So Bremen is a state and a city, and together with the port, they have actually an offshore port there, and it's an opportunity, but it's close to 700,000. You know, so you need to choose, depending on your business, where to focus on. Where are my customers? You see, this becomes already a decision you have to make in advance. And I'm just, I mean, what I show you here today is it's still high level. You can, get, a lot of figures on it if needed by different sources, research companies. So we have the big ones, yes, but this is not the real story in Germany. The real story in Germany is we have a lot of SMEs, and SME is defined, which is up to 500 employees or 500 million in sales. And this makes 99% plus of our business market. So this you need to understand. And this is quite often, let's say, family-run business. The other part, of course, is the big ones here. So you see, I mean, we have those big ones, and I listed just the top 15. You can get the whole list there, and amazing. The first three are cars, and then Deutsche Bahn. I mean, Deutsche Bahn is state-owned still. Yeah, Siemens, very big company globally. Deutsche Telekom, state-owned. Yeah, and funny, I mean, there's a Deutsche Bank. They're not so big in profit and not so big in employees, but in 2018, I mean, they did a lot of sales. But they also had serious problems, by the way. Okay, so depending where your business is, you need to select your playing ground. So, and it means you have to focus really. And we did some of our own planning, and these are the areas we say are the most innovative ones at the moment. So in government business, there's increasing budgets, and it's a lot about digitization. Aerospace is growing rapidly, not only the big ones, also the small ones. Information technology is a very wide area. So it's telecommunication, but it's also digitization. Yeah, and it's new services. Defense, I mean, you know it, I don't have to tell you, I will come to this later a bit. Transportation, which is rail. Yeah, so it's rail, movers. So it's mass transportation. And machinery and automotive is still big. And energy. I mean, banking and insurances, I would say, is a bit less, and it's also not our main focus, for instance. But I mean, the first 7, the big areas, and then you need to find your spot, of course. So it means, I mean, each segment, you need to find the way into this network. You need to find in how you have to deal there. You need to find out what our quality requirements are there. So there are a couple of German internet pages and sites you can go, and each segment has this association and so on. I just made up here an example, how to find my network, my trade shows, etc. It's all available. It's all available, but you need to, work on this. And the business in Germany is not just about tenders. It's also, as in any let's say culture, it's still about trust and relationship. Okay. Any interim questions here?
There are a couple questions. I think there are questions coming along. Wolfram, would you like to pick it up as you go, or would you like to answer at the very end?
No, I can. As I said, I mean, it's a good time now here, because then I go into the aerospace and defense business, and maybe it's good here just to get the feedback also. What is the experience from others, or I mean, what are the questions they have?
Yes, let me ask a few questions, and then again, I'm sure I've been very quiet. I've been listening. It's a brilliant overview of the market, including the political landscape. Wolfram, thank you. And I really enjoyed it. I'm sure listeners would also enjoy. Please share that in the chat. But while they add the questions and their experience, let me ask a few questions. A couple of questions from Michael. It's like one of his clients tried to enter the German market, and they found it was highly protectionist. You did cover that. How can Germany defend this, given the EU priority for open trade with the community? Are there any cases in the EU code to challenge this protectionism? I think the point there is, even though it's an open market, it's still German for Germany. So what's your thoughts on that, Wolfram? That's the first question.
I can confirm this. Well, I mean, it is an open EU market, yeah, but it's also quite often when it comes to the government business, it's about budgets. So the intention is then quite often to spend the budget, of course, to the right, candidates. When it comes to public tenders, well, maybe it's in any country, but I've been doing some bidding for international companies in Germany, and I think they were equal to the other ones. But there are certain requirements that are in there when it comes to what are your references the last 2 years in Germany. So if you don't have reference in Germany, you even can't, you will be excluded. Or you have, let's say, even the wrong reference in there, you will be excluded. So they start to exclude companies first. Yeah, so, and you need to know this. You need to know your area, and it might be the same in other countries. So, I mean, I'm not the expert on UK. Yeah, but doing more, let's say, the past, 8 years, I've done more business in Germany, and I realized how protective we are. But you need to know the rules. I mean, you can come across this. Sorry for the long answer, but yeah. So yes, it is. But it's also, when I think about the ESA stuff I mentioned earlier, and I will come to this exactly again here. It's about budgets from the countries. So they, of course, they spend their budget for German suppliers, and the UK, Italy, France, they will do the same. Sure. Yeah. So this is maybe not specific to Germany, but the other one, of course, as I said, I mean, you can solve this, yeah, by finding, partners, find German-speaking employees, competent ones. You can come over this. It's not about the product and solution. It's about the way of working. Yeah.
Thank you, Wolfram. I think that makes sense. You did cover about the partnership, and instead of going directly, go through some existing German players or partner with somebody within Germany to enter the market. That was useful. Yeah. That was a follow-up question from Michael as well before I move into Rita. And others, please do drop your questions. Let's keep it as interactive as possible. Again, Michael suggests, if it's the same point. I think if it's hard to get in on your own as an outsider within the German market, is it prudent to actually work with somebody bidding into like a German parent? I think, let me read the question properly. BASF Portugal was one of his clients in the past. Would bidding on this be a valid strategy to penetrate the German market, i.e. do business with a non-German subsidiary, then work from there into bidding into the German parent company? Ideally, you have the German company, but not in Germany, but you have worked with them outside Germany, but use that as a reference to come inside Germany. Will that be accepted from your opinion, Wolfram, when you give the past performance and references?
This question I don't hear the first time. And we are also working with Portugal, by the way. So, and I remember this question. Yeah, I mean, it has to be a German entity. It's not like you can channel your business via Germany, you know. You have to be careful. So if you, there are government officials when it comes to tenders, and they will follow exactly the rules. So I think it's possible. As I said, at the end, I have some recommendations how you could enter, how you can do this, and then we can talk about a little more about it. But I mean, there are ways in. That's the point.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Wolfram. Again, what Rita points is, what would you say is the biggest challenge to overcome to do business in Germany for Europeans or other companies bidding in German in terms of cultural differences? I know there are some measures based on policies, but obviously within the policies, there are cultures as well. Do you find that as an hindrance? Because you did mention very early on, the portal is in German, the submission is in German, the tender is written in German. So obviously you need to know German. That's the very first thing. But what other cultural differences you believe for somebody who comes as an outsider? Is it important for them to all know full bank German?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't overestimate this, but I mean, it's simple like it is. It's first of all, it's a German communication. Yeah, it's a German communication and understanding also the German portals. Like it is in any language, you need to really understand what it means. It's not a translation. Yeah, I think you can come over it when you really accept this. I need a German person or a German organization or a German partner, and then I can work with him, and then I can build trust. Then later on, it's possible to work also in English. Yeah, in B2B, it's possible. In business to government, no.
Perfect. Thank you. Again, there are a few more questions. I hope it was useful, Rita. Again, a few more questions. Let's just crack the questions. I know you have a lot more slides to cover. The question number one, this is from Kiyomi, which is like, would you find any uniqueness in the way SMEs are involved in the industry? I mean, like, because in UK, as you know, they do kind of say to 1/3 of the spend needs to go to the SMEs. What do you think about the SMEs within the public sector industry?
Well, it depends who's issuing. I mean, if it comes from the government organization, they might have this rule as well. When I think about the ESA business, yes, if you're an SME and qualified as an SME, you have special conditions. Right. Like yeah, so you have preference, or there might be products which are not for SMEs. Yeah, and you might get better treatment when it comes to payment terms when you're an SME. So again, you need to understand this, but there's also the other way. It's, I mean, how to work with SMEs. You see, it's not just, you cannot just go for the big ones. Yeah, because so many are standing there, you know, at the entrance. So the business is with bigger SMEs.
Perfect. Again, this good. Thank you for that, Wolfram. Again, last question from Matt as of now. So Matt's asking, are there specialist bid management recruitment agencies in Germany that can help with the bilingual speaking staff?
There are a few, to be honest. I mean, of course, yeah. But you find maybe a lot of supporting companies which do it in German. You know, they do it just for the German market, but you do not find so many which can handle English, German, and do this, how can I say, transformation. And I don't have to say, of course, we are one of the companies, so my companies are doing this. Sure. Yeah, and this is but they're not, I would say, even the proposal market as such, or proposal manager market, is not very big yet in Germany. I mean, we have APMP association, but still a lot is in German. So APMP International doesn't help too much. Yeah, and I realized already 15 years ago. So that's the reason I started to look into this. So yeah, there are companies which can help you. Yes. Yeah, and I'm happy to help.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Wolfram. Hope that useful to me. Thank you, Rita. Thank you, Michael, for the question. Please do have the questions at the end, and I know, Wolfram, you have a lot more to cover. Please do continue, Wolfram. Thank you.
Yeah, let me now go to the aerospace part, which is really a highly interesting area. And of course, this is not just German, but it has a very German angle because Germany spends a lot of budget there. Yeah, and this is also relevant perhaps for other people. And I mean, let me go to the next portal page. But even to start with ESA business, it's a nightmare. Okay, so in ESA business, it's not just about rockets. It's not about ISS. It's not about satellites. There's a lot of, let's say, Earth, let's say, business potentials there, which is not related directly to shooting something into the space. Yeah, and this, I mean, and there are programs for SMEs to take part in this. That's the point. So you see, I mean, only an important point is here. For instance, an American company cannot bid for ESA. They are not a member state. Yeah. UK still is. Yeah. So if you're not a member, you're not part of the game because you don't spend the money. So what you have to do, for instance, in Germany, you have to work with the German Deutsche Luft- und Raumfahrt entity, and the ESA to understand where are the budgets going, what is preferred, and then you can select your tender. So it's you do not just go for a tender. And also we have, I mean, we learned how to do this, and we handed in with partners bids to ESA ourselves, which are not directly space related. So I can just, I mean, tell anybody, let's look into this. This is growing business. Come on, this is telecommunication business. Yeah, this is the budgets will not decrease; they will increase. But you need to understand, ESA is, let's say, only related to. I have it on another slide. It's about Earth observation. So it's doing services. Yeah. Let's say, which is related to our Earth. And it's not defense related at all. So very, very clear. And it's I would say it is not an EU entity directly. ESA is an independent entity which is financed by the European states. And I mean, one of the headquarters is actually in the Netherlands. So just examples here, there are programs where SMEs can participate. And you just need to learn how to do this. Also here, I mean, we are helping companies to do this, but you have to be committed to do this. It's a lot of administration, rules. It's in English, so it's easier. Yeah, and but of course, there is bigger competition. I don't want to talk, I mean, too long about it, but I mean, recently the focus is shifting to rockets, which are able to shoot, let's say, the material, the satellites, or whatever you want to have there in space, up to the right positions. And you may have heard about that the Russians have withdrawn from certain sites and programs. So Europe has a problem now, a big problem. So I mean, 2 Galileo satellites, which is our European GPS system, let's say, cannot be, brought up. They couldn't brought up because we miss the Russian Soyuz satellites, rockets, sorry. So a lot of European companies and startups are developing rockets. Again, this is also interesting business. So we have supported one of the German ones, and there was recently an announcement, I think yesterday, that one company won the next competition for a couple of million of funding to, let's say, to further develop the rocket, because we need replacements. Europe has only Ariane right now. So Ariane space basically can shoot up big loads. So we are depending on others right now. Again, big problem. So a lot of money goes in here. And you see, German companies are here like Airbus, OHB, which is located in Bremen, MT Aerospace, IABG, and the smaller companies like Rocket Factory Augsburg, which are developing rockets as well. Again, interesting area, and tenders are going to ESA, DLR, and of course, they're attracting customers, not only government customers, but also like, I mean, basically they start doing similar what Elon Musk is doing with SpaceX as well. But he is far ahead, far ahead. You see, we are late in Europe, we are late in Germany. It's a pity. Okay, now my last in let's say business area here. So defense. Again, very tricky. So you cannot deal with the defense organizations in Germany directly. You have to go via a certain entity and organization, and it's called BANBW, Bundesamt für Ausrüstung und Informationstechnik und Nutzung der Bundeswehr. So this sits in Koblenz, and of course it's how can I say, run by our defense ministry, but it's an independent organization, and all the material, all the stuff is in German. So let's say, and there are many defense companies out there that would be happy to bid for certain stuff, but it has to be in this format. And we have supported a couple of companies here as well. And but you need really experts on this. This is tender is different, like in the ESA part is maybe different from other government tenders. Again, specific experts you need. So you cannot just take a proposal manager here. You need somebody who understands the business as well. So and over the past years, we developed our experts per area, which have both capabilities. Not easy to find, by the way. You see the budget here was 52 billion, or more or less 53 billion in 2020. Now with the new situation, you may have heard about that, our new chancellor announced a couple of weeks ago, okay, the world's changed. We spent additional 100 billion euros for our armed forces. This is, wow, unbelievable, because Germans were very restrictive in allowing, let's say, defense equipment to be, produced or shipped outside Germany. Yeah, because Germany was not the past years a defense organization, it was more a service organization. And of course, this creates a lot of interest from international vendors here as well. And due to the time constraints, you have heard about that. I think Germany bought already or made a deal with German Air Force, German, let's say, vendors for the F-35, which is Lockheed Martin, so far I remember. So the world is changing here as well. Again, companies in the segment, there are now opportunities, definitely, for new technologies. Right now, people are selling all the let's say, used and old stuff, but there's a lot of developments going on. So if somebody is interested in this area, definitely something to be, and the money in Germany is there. So just to show you, it's the center of purchase is in Koblenz. It's not in Berlin. It's at the River Rhine and Main and Mosel and Rhine. And yeah, so if you deal with defense and want to do something and sell something here, you have to be there. Maybe you have your location in Koblenz. If you sell directly. On the other hand, you can, of course, also sell to our defense companies. And here, just the big ones. I think they are really driving the market. It's Airbus Defense and Space for the air part, Rheinmetall and Kraus Maffei for the land defense business. Then Hensoldt recently actually was really shooting up because they are actually in electronics and radar, which is necessary for land, air, and let's say water. And you can see, I mean, the Germans have it all. I mean, then you have also for, let's say, the water, for the marine part, submarines and vessels, and a couple of companies. I mean, they're all around Hamburg and Bremen, by the way, these companies, logically. And deal defense are more, let's say, air defense systems, like you know, the missile stuff. You see, this is everything which is actually required right now in this ongoing war in Ukraine. Okay. Yeah. And there are certain regulations, you have to know, quality systems, very tight. So again, you will not enter here quickly. And like I mean, here, the next slide is an example for any industry in Germany. Every industry segment has its association, somehow network. So if you want to go somewhere in, find your association network. You see, they're not only the big ones, there are a lot of smaller, mid-sized companies. There are companies which are dealing with defense and non-defense business. Webasto, say, yeah, Renk, I mean, yeah. And then, yeah, I have one more actually on, as I said, this is my last slide on the defense part. And I've cut it down a little bit due to time also the energy part already, but I wanted to have at least one here. And just showing the big challenge we have in the energy sector now, which is an opportunity for the business, you know, really. I mean, people may know already, we aim for, let's say, to get independent, to get CO2, let's say CO2 zero, and focus on, let's say, electrical, wind, and solar. That was in the plans anyway already. But due to the Russian, let's say, aggression in Ukraine now, Germany has a very big problem because we are relying really, I mean, the big problem is our reliance on gas. And we need to fix this as soon as possible. So otherwise, we really will have an issue in some industries, because this is not just for heating, it's for manufacturing. The heating part is not the problem. It's the manufacturing industry in chemicals, in steel. And I don't have the slide here, but the chemical industry, in the steel industry, they consume 50% of the gas. And they're big, BASF, for instance. Okay, so the direction will be really, I mean, Germany was already leading, you know, using green energy, and we had already good years where actually we produced more wind energy and solar energy than needed already. But and now, as I said, this issue now drives up the speed definitely. All right, I think a couple of minutes left, right?
Yes, Wolfram, let's just go through. I think that's an overview, nice overview. And then let's just talk about, I know it's a complex market to enter, and I know there are some restrictions, but I know there are way forward to go in as well. Please do share some of the insights from your experience.
I will do. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, just here, I mean, it's just, I mean, you get a lot of copies later as well, but I mean, make your plan, you know, where to go, where are your customers, yeah? Do we have your own community there, perhaps? And the Portuguese, by the way, I have this example, they have a community in Germany around Cologne, Düsseldorf. It's a good entry, working with your own people, your own culture. Yeah, and then next one is, I mean, German contacts are required for all options. Any option I tell you here, and you need to be willing to spend money and time. You have to plan it. It's, you know, what you can do. It's a 5-step to test the market and do some research for your product and solution. Yeah. Then use a German supporting company, whatever it is, whatever you need in your segment. It does not mean that you will make the business, but you may gain the knowledge, let's say, to go to the next milestone to continue. Yeah. So do some trials, RFI, RFPs to understand. Yeah. And then you need to decide, you go for a local company or you go for a partner. I don't think there's a shortcut. Yeah, there's no shortcut. So, and I added this one here because Hannover Fair is in more or less 5 weeks now. And it's an opportunity for companies which are more in the manufacturing industry, right? And we have a couple of people there, and we could help people to find then network. Okay, we have a group of experts, and we just do this. We just do it because we want to do this. It's not that we're charging for this anything, not at all. So I mean, I mean, even without us, I would just, I mean, urge people, go there, make your contacts, make your networks. Then you better understand before you really enter the market for full speed. And my last slide is basically this one here. So you also see some faces, not only my face here. So and we don't call us consultants, we are experts in different industry segments. Plus we know the business development, capture and proposal. They are not the only ones, but those 6 are actually on Hannover Fair. And yeah, this is rounding up my part. And you see, it was a run, 1 hour. And yeah, to be honest.
Thank you so much, Wolfram. I know you had a lot more to cover. You kind of kindly condensed it into this. We could have added another 30 minutes to this slot. But thank you for that. I think, you know, for attendees, you know, wait for a minute or two, we'll start the Scribble Quest. But there is just one last question, which we'll close it. And we will share the slides and we will share the contact details of Wolfram. Please do get in touch. And before you do anything, and I pick his brains, you know, very nice person and a very good friend. So let me ask this question. I think this is from Rita again. Is the situation like what we talked about, German procurement? Is it very similar to the neighboring countries like Switzerland and Australia, or what's your feel on that? Or are they different? They also have their own policies and procedures, or do they kind of vaguely similar because they do speak German in some parts?
Switzerland is even tougher. Let's say, I mean, they are smaller, of course, but they speak more than one language. But I mean, the tenders are in Swiss German, yeah, which is very special again. So it's also in German, but it's Swiss German even, you know. So you cannot compare this one by one. And Austria, I think Austria is more similar. But again, you see, I mean, Germany has its own structure, its own state. So I mean, you need to see really how Austria is organizing it. I'm not the expert on Austria.
Thank you so much, Wolfram. That's very helpful. Any further questions, please do drop a note to us. We'll consolidate and we'll send to Wolfram. Wolfram, thank you so much. But let me begin the Scribble Quest for the people, the legends who are waiting so long. And we had close to 80 registrations. And for the people who are going to listen to the recording, send messages, please do drop Wolfram note or through LinkedIn or through me or through anybody within the team. So let's begin the Scribble Quest. You know the drill, 3 questions from the webinar. Whoever tries the question gets a point, and whoever actually answers the question for the first time gets a learning course from us. So go close to your chat box and let's answer. We'll start with something very simple. Wolfram kind of kindly gave an overview of the population and the states within Germany. What's the largest state in Germany, and what was the population that he quoted? Let's see who gets it. And whoever the German speakers, native speakers get it, or people outside, you might find it hard. So I didn't pick up any big words. So what's the...
Yes.
That's the reason. Karen, you nailed it. Wolfram seems to react. What's the population for that region? I think that's the second part of the same question. Rough population. Anyone?
Ooh.
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 It's somewhere between 3 million and 49 million, which is the it's halfway through. I think
I can disclose it if you want.
Yeah, let's see. Anyone want to try before I move on? Just guess it. It's fine. Oh, Fabian, that's very, very close. It's very close.
Yeah. Mark is very good. Marek, sorry, Marek.
Marek and Marek is very close, and thanks for trying Mike as well. But again, that's good. So okay, let's go to the next question. Wolf mentioned, you know what, there is a new minister and there is a ministry that pretty much is going to own the public tender. So let's go. It's a three-part question. So step one, which government ministry today oversees the new government ministry that today oversees the public sector awards? Question number one. Question number two, within that is, Wolfram mentioned that the approximate value of the public sector awards within Germany. What was the number in billion? And then you have the minister himself. What's the name of the minister? If anybody gets all three, my God, I'll be very, very happy, but pick up three. What's the government ministry? What's the approximate contract awards in Germany? And who's the minister? Good, Habeck, that's the minister. Anyone wants to go for the full name?
Cool.
Ooh, Mark, you nailed it. Is it the short form, BMWK?
Yeah, it's correct.
And the value, it's slightly lower than what you mentioned, Matt.
Yeah, it's 500 billion. That's okay, but it's increasing now, so it's a good number.
Okay, that's a good try. Anybody want to try? I think the minister of the name is there, and the body, the average spend is there is 300 billion. But as Wolfram just pointed, it's increasing. Ministry of Defense increased by 100 billion already, so it's just coming closer. So, in the last question on this before we close, it's like, you know, Wolfram mentioned, hey, in the case study, the Czech company case study, he mentioned, you know what? You might have the best product, but Germans develop their own standard. In the example, Wolfram mentioned a standard specific to that particular example. What was that standard? Anybody?
Oh.
That's a good try. That's a good try, everybody. I mean, like, it's amazing. I think, thank you for...
Oh, it's even better.
Nice work, nice work. I think, thank you so much for joining. I think next week we have how to, let me get the topic right. Next week we have how to choose the RFP management software by Lauren Light, same time, 3 p.m. Thursday. Please do drop by. But today, thank you so much, Wolfram. By far the most comprehensive presentation added in the Office Hours webinars. Very, very comprehensive, 60 plus slides. You know, thank you so much. And please and you know, please do pick his brains. You know, thank you, everybody, and please do look after yourself. And I hope to see you next week. Thanks again. The slides and the related information will be shared to you within the next 24 to 48 hours. Webinar is available free for you to watch on demand, and it will be uploaded in our YouTube channel to watch on free. So thank you so much at the bottom of my heart to everybody who stayed late, and also to Wolfram, good friend. Thank you, and hope you enjoyed the Faison, who's Wolfram's son. If you haven't tuned in Spotify, Faison, F-A-Z-O-N, and in YouTube also you could download it. It's Wolfram's son, who is also a singer and he's also a gamer. So well done. Thank you, Wolfram. Thanks everybody, and look after yourself. And I'll speak to you next week. Thanks all.
Thank you, Bhaskar. Perfect. Fun.